Welcome to the Mark Attwood Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. Today we're going to talk about, this show is all about mind, body, and spirit. And I'm going to bring on a chap today called Alex, who's based in northern Denmark, who grabbed my attention because he told me about hidden body secrets from the Orient, which have been hidden from us, which are known as I think it's China. He's going to correct me in a minute, which are taught as immortality training. And I thought this is really fascinating. So welcome to the show, Alex. How are you?
I'm well, thank you.
So
nice to see you, Mark.
You too. Let's dive in with that first, because that's what grabbed my attention. What is immortality training?
Okay, I mean, in terms of immortality training, that's the kind of thing they practice in Qigong, Tai Chi, and a lot of the what you see the Shaolin monks practicing, when they're smashing bars over their heads and don't know what they're doing. So, I mean, it's parts of the knowledge are all over in different arts, but it's not often that you get it all in one place. And so it's dissipated throughout different arts, and they concentrate on different facets of it. But what it really is it's knowledge that goes back 4,000 years. And there's a number of reasons why in our regular martial arts, especially coming from Japan, you don't hear about it that much. Of course, there are practitioners who've found this information since and practice it or incorporate it. And a lot of that is, for example, with karate, they follow more the Okinawan approach as opposed to the mainland Japanese approach. And what it's about is it's thousands of years ago, as the different emperors of China having all these different wars trying to take over lands, they had to figure a way to how to send an army across thousands of miles of territory, carrying all their armor, all their equipment, and yet at the end of it, be fresh to fight the minute they get there, with an army just waiting to to meet them. So their physicians took bodies apart and they figured some things out. And one of the things they figured out, which is becoming more mainstream now, is all about the fascia and all about the ligaments and tendons.
What's the fascia?
The fascia is,
what's the fascia?
The fascia is the white marble you see on the meat in the butchers. Okay, and that fascia actually surrounds all our organs. It surrounds our muscle, and not only there's fascia that runs all over our body, it actually all connects up in one big envelope from toe to head. And when you learn to manipulate the fascia, you can and connect your body toe to head, you are using your body in a whole other way, because rather than being the sum of your parts, you move as one organism. You get power from the ground, which directly translates into your upper body. And so what this knowledge is about is it's learning how to, this is only one aspect of it, by the way. What is commonly known today as internal power training. And what they're doing is they are doing workout on the inside of their body, and they are mainly working the fascia. They're learning how to reteach the body. The mind and body have to have a new communication, if you like. And it's like a baby. You have to start all over again. So how do I walk? How do I breathe? How do you do everything? Because this knowledge has been kept from us. I'll get to that. So, but basically, this fascia and the tendons is where it all started. And then what they learned to do is how to walk in such a way that you don't fight against gravity. Gravity becomes your friend. So it's all about creating opposing forces in your body. Okay, so if you imagine if you bent your legs a little and you stretched up a little, you've created two opposing forces, one down, one up. Okay, and this is kind of what the Sherpas do as an example of using this magic. They have this big band around their head attached to this massive amount of stuff they're carrying for their climbers, and climbers got all their gear, and these Sherpas just go up without anything, just
Yeah.
But what they do is, one, they're leaning slightly forward and they fall into their step. They don't pick. It's like if they didn't put their leg out, they'd fall over. But what the main trick is they've learned to create these opposing forces. So they extend upwards. They always go in an opposing direction or a perpendicular direction to the force. So if I had this bag on my head, they're not trying to press like this. Okay, and what they do is they press upwards and downwards, and then they can lean slightly forward, and then the weight of the bag and leaning upwards, it's just like they want to run. So, oh my gosh, how do I stop? And they go up the mountain like that.
Creating forward movement by using the forces around them rather than working against them.
So this knowledge is all about creating opposing forces in your body and learning to manipulate the fascia. There are different models. I'm only talking about the internal power training for a second. So in one of the models, you hang everything off the skeletal structure. And this is the model most commonly known in Aikido, sort of Japanese martial art. Not really martial art, but a body art, I would call it. And that's where you sort of hang everything off your skeletal structure. And you imagine there's a big car magnet that's trying to pull your bones out of your head if they were made of metal. But at the same time, everything fleshy is hanging off you. And that's what you see when people stand under the waterfall. This is what they're doing. They're practicing misogi. They're using the downward pressure of the water to accentuate the downward feeling, and they're thinking up. And you get immense strength and a good posture and breathing, and you separate your vertebra. So there's so many health benefits to it. But the knowledge is the secret knowledge encompasses so many other things. So there's walking drills, there's the internal power training, there's the breathing, and then of course there's certain techniques and ways of walking, ways of moving that make you much more effective. And this starts to get into the area of Aiki, what they call Aikido, where what you're doing is when you see people in that sort of Tai Chi move, that Tai Chi stance, they've gone into something called 6 directions. They've ballooned out like a big balloon in all directions, and they've sucked in their abs into their upper back and sealed their spine. And once you've done that, if you then pushed your leg into the ground, or you would create a grand spiral in your body. And the more you seal your spine, your hips, the more efficient is the spiral. More of that energy from the ground will go into your arm. And this is what Aikido is about, is creating spirals. So you create a spiral upwards when you unbend a leg, but your other leg is bending. So you're creating a spiral downwards. So you have a spiral upwards and a spiral downwards. And it's in between these two spirals that you create Aiki, where if someone grabs you, for example, they would say in Aikido, you will feel like you've suddenly fallen on ice. I've taken your balance. And that is because I'm developing a center. This is maybe the most important part of this body knowledge. Is what they were doing is they were creating a real center that's made up of your abs, your back, your diaphragm, your pelvic floor, and everything is driven from these major muscles. And so you reorganize your body and how you do everything. Everything starts to get initiated from your hara, from your center. And the work that we do is connecting your fascia from the ground upwards to the hara, and from above, from your extremities to the hara. And once you get those connections and you start moving your belly one way and the other, you'll feel a tightness. So if I want to move to the right, it's my hara that moves first, and it causes the rest of me to move. So you end up using these major muscles to drive everything you do. And these extremities, they're just directors. So in normal life and in Western life especially, you know, we put a lot of effort into our shoulders, into our arms. We want to pick something up. We're putting a lot of effort into upper body and doing it. With the way I'm doing it, this knowledge, if you use it, apply it correctly, all of that is being done by the body. And my direct is just holding on to the thing. And because I'm all connected through the fascia, and I pull fascia from the main core into my arms, I don't need the strength that from my muscles as much, and I don't need to rely on put so much pressure on the joints. The fascia from the core is pulling into my extremities, and I can pick a heavy object up, get connected, go into one of the body models, let's say Misogi, and you can pick everything up, and all that weight is hanging off your skeletal structure and your connective tissues, which is the ligaments and tendons. They're the toughest tissues we have in our body. So why not let them do the work? So with all that kind of knowledge, you end up having a body system for health into old age, because you start to take the press off all your joints. You walk in a graceful manner. And you can do this when you're 90. You could even start when you're 80 or 85. So I haven't done an exercise ever in my life. This you could do, because when you see examples of it, it just looks like you're yawning and stretching. That's the extent at which you do these stretches, just like a yawn. And later, as you get more hardcore, if you're into martial arts and things, you take it to another level. So that's the knowledge with the body conditioning itself. And the history of it, what happened is, as an example, some of this is, this is a consensus of opinion of what happened. I can't point to an exact meeting or the date or who was there or who said what. But as an example, after the Second World War in Japan, all the masters got together from all the different martial arts, including Morihei Ueshiba from Aikido. And they had to decide, what are we going to do? All these, are we going to teach what we know, all our heritage, all our secrets, all our knowledge to these guys that have, won the battle? And they came to a conclusion, you know what, we'll teach them all the techniques, but we won't tell them the internal stuff. So you can go to, to learn EI, learn the sword. And then, yeah, I'll teach you 1,000 techniques, 1,500, no problem. 2,000, okay. But they're not teaching you what's in the sword. What are you doing in your body that makes it so effective? Because when you apply this body knowledge and you're completely connected, in Aikido, and what Morihei Ueshiba calls this, he calls this attaining heaven earth man, that you're connected from toe to head. So you have a grounding, you're completely grounded, but you're up in the sky too, and you can, all this knowledge I'm telling you about, you can put into a sword, you can put into anything, and you can put it into a tennis racket. You can put it into anything.
I might find that useful then, because I do a bit of tennis.
Yes.
It sounds like this is like just getting the body. Well, firstly, that meeting you said sounds like the Asian martial arts equivalent of the Council of Nicaea. They're like, well, we'll give we'll give a few books of the Bible out, but we'll take the other 800 out so that nobody puts it all together.
Yeah, yeah.
Which makes sense from a kind of, it makes sense from a certain point of view, from their point of view. But also, I just went. I'm just reminded of. I've just been seeing this in the mainstream. Obviously, when you're talking, the first thing that comes to mind is Bruce Lee and Hidden Tiger, Crouching Dragon, whatever that's, Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon, and it's like ballet, isn't it? And I've just been to
Yes.
see Shang-Chi, the Legend of the Ten Rings, which is actually all about this, because the guy with the powerful rings falls in love with this woman in a forest, and she completely whips his ass by being in tune with nature. And as you were describing it, and that's an amazing film, everybody should go and watch, by the way, because that is an awake film. It really is, that Marvel film. And it's an allegory for what's going on with the human race right now, in my opinion. But also, as you were describing it, it reminded me of the torus. You know, the torus field?
Yes.
Which is basically nature. Everything, your eye, apples, the universe, the earth, is like a big donor energy, self-perpetuating energy field. And that seems like what you're describing there, because the core becomes the energy field. You called it something else. What did you call it?
I'm not. Yeah, I call this the core.
Yeah.
I mean, you mean the center, the hara?
That's the hara.
Yeah, or the dantian. There's sort of different names for it.
Yeah. So that visually, I was seeing the torus there. Which have you thought of that before?
Yes, I have. I belong in a spiritual group, and there's people there that are looking at the fascia in whole other ways, and how it's to do with connecting with energy and getting into the 5D area, which is not, they're doing research on it. I can't wait that they come back to me on it. There's a lot with the fascia.
You're combining like the physical stuff with Qigong, right? Have I said that right? I don't know if I said that right.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do Qigong, anything like that myself, but it is that they certainly do go more into that area of it.
So this is powerful information for anybody, which is why I wanted to talk to you about it, because my mum, for example, she's 70 and she's still walking 5 miles a day, but she's always in pain. And when I watch her walk, she and she's been to base camp at Everest. She's climbed up loads of mountains around the world. She's traveled the world, backpacked in her 40s and stuff. And she's a big walker, but she's always suffering in pain with different aspects of her body. And this is the kind of thing that I want to share on this channel, because it's the kind of thing I'd share with her, because I've seen some of your videos, and it literally looks like you just a bit of a stretch. That's my kind of exercise. I mean, I think that's the kind of exercise most people would want to do.
Yep. I mean, the thing is, like I say, I've identified three kind of groups that this is applicable to. And really, in my first idea of this, when this first came to me as a sort of twinkle in my eye, it was health into old age.
Yeah.
For the more senior citizens and people completely out of shape. I have one gentleman that I'm helping who, in a personal consultation where I then did some videos for him, space specific to him, exercises you can do in bed and lying down. He's someone that's very overweight and has rheumatism and arthritis in the joints. And, they don't know where to start. And it's just a downward spiral. They're getting bigger and bigger, doing less and less. So to try and reverse that is to these sort of exercises, you can begin to build some sort of strength and more mobility and flexibility, that they can begin to do something. And I'm teaching him to tread lightly and how you get up correctly, breathing. And so it's just a start, that's not going to make you lose weight or anything, but it's to get your body feeling good again, and that you want to do some exercise, then you're able to do more. And, until he gets to a point where he can maybe do the things that I'm showing, and then maybe do some gentle aerobic, maybe swimming, things like that. So, you can really take people who are in the most extreme situations and help them. And the next group is really sort of my peeps, if you like. It's the spiritual awakened people.
Yeah.
They often lovely souls, but often a little flimsy in the body, and often can be very spooked by the dark side of things, and because there's another aspect to all of this training from that point of view, which with this mind, body, spirit, it's all about getting into a neutral state. Because once you're in a neutral state, you can make better decisions. You're in a much better place, and you can connect with your higher self and so forth. We've all heard this many times, but I'm really doing it from the real basics. How do you get in a neutral state in your body, which then helps the mind quieten down, because the mind and body are communicating. You can see with this internal power training, when you've watched the videos, you've got no space to think about anything else. You're trying to work, what am I doing here? Trying to feel and visualize what it is you're meant to be doing. That's why it's called internal power training.
Well, that's why I find playing a game of tennis or cooking a meal, like that's my meditation, because
Yes.
you don't think about anything else. You just,
yes,
you're either focused on the ball or
it's the highest level of meditation. I personally have never been good at thinking of a blank screen. There's always something coming in on the side.
Yeah, monkey mind.
Yeah. And then the third area is, so being a bit warrior-like, because we are spiritual warriors, and you need to have a bit of backbone.
Yes, you do. I just saw that. This morning. I had my son missed his. I give him a lift to his school bus every morning, and that's about 15 minutes away. But we just missed it by 30 seconds today, so I had to drive all the way to the town where he goes to school. As we're driving along, one of my friends, my son goes, "Is that Roger?" And I'm looked to the side. Well, we're in traffic coming into town because it's rush hour coming into town, and my friend is stood there with a placard that he's painted himself. And I'm just looking at him going, and it said thalidomide was safe, so he's trying to get into the minds of all the drivers coming in about the V. And I was just, wow, that is a warrior. That man is a warrior, because most people driving past him, firstly, they'd ignored him. If anybody did look at him, they'd be thinking, what's he going on about? I looked at him and I just saw this strength, because it takes incredible courage right now to stand up in a room, or even to not wear a mask walking into a shop. And in the last 18 months, there have been 2 incidences where I've been attacked for not wearing a mask. And in both incidences, I was not centered. I knew I wasn't centered. I was in a big hurry. I think I'd had a drink the night before, and I was, and I walked in, but when you're centered, they can feel it. They feel the strength, don't they? And that kind of, it is down to that centered calmness that we get from meditation, or from just being in the right space. And the body is a big part of that, as you said, because it's communicating with the brain, and that's then you've got the noise going on, and people getting a tizzy, and then they're reaching for things, and some things are really good, like CBD helps, and eating the right food, drinking the right, all that helps. But and the reason I'm rambling a bit here is because I realized that in the last year, I've been so focused on what I'm doing that I've forgotten about my body.
Yeah.
And I used to play tennis 5 times a week before this happened. And the reason I don't play it at the moment is because the tennis club went all COVID fascist on us. And I was like, I just can't be there.
Yeah.
So I've literally, only in the last week or so have I started running again and making sure that I'm out in nature more. But this really appeals to me, because it's not like, I've still got a hernia as well. So it's not like, because I've done a lot of heavy training. I've done all sorts of training in my life. And I used to be, as fit as a butcher's dog when I was younger. But this kind of thing starting to appeal to me as I'm getting older.
Yeah. But not just that, as an example, as a tool, let's say, you had that situation. The idea of learning these body models is that you're not having to think, okay, I must fight, I must get my center, because it's still too gray, it's too intangible. But you have a model to, okay, what is misogi? Okay, relax, drop everything, think up. You're putting yourself, that's what you're thinking in your body while someone's shouting at you. You're just working out what you need to do in your body, and then you're thinking about breathing. Saying, okay, breathe everything out, because I'm breathing. So I'm going to breathe everything out. That's one. A breathing is one of the examples of the difference between a lot of the kind of spiritual breathing modalities and martial art, is that in martial arts you emphasize on the breathing out, because very typically in a lot of normal breathing classes, they big breaths in, and it's all great, it's lovely, but with martial art, the idea is that you're able to cope if you're suddenly without air. So you get used to breathing everything out forcibly, and you just breathe in naturally through your nose. And so if someone's shouting at you can just emptying everything, getting centered, going into one of these models. What are you saying to me? And you're in a complete. So you can use them as tools, this body knowledge, with your psychology. And I used to use it with presentations, getting very nervous. And in the end, I'm nearly all in my body, and the presentation is nearly secondhand because I'm very familiar with it. So I can just. But if I didn't do the body thing, my left leg would be tapping.
I've had to do a lot of presentations all over the world, and sometimes you get incredibly nervous. And I've always used meditation. I just go and just sit for 5-10 minutes. But I also, so I used to be an actor as well. So I remember, preparing to go on stage was always about stretching and then doing vocal exercises, red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry, all that kind of stuff, and la 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 la, and all that.
Yeah.
And it's this is really this applies across the board,
Absolutely,
for life. So yeah. I'm just, and look, I know people watch these videos and then they leave after 20 minutes because they're busy. So I'm going to put a link up on the screen, because the tmas.tv/immortality training, that's where you are sharing this with the world with your own online stuff. So I'm just letting everybody know about that before they bugger off to make tea. What I'm interested in, Alex, is also how did you get to this? How did you find this? What's your journey been?
Okay. I mean, I've combination of I've had a very fortunate life. My mother is an incredible person who at a young age was taken out of Germany to South Africa because of the what was going on in this, with Hitler. It was a poor white family on the wrong side of the tracks, brought up in South Africa, and she could straight away see this problem with apartheid. This is not right. She ended up at a young age becoming a writer and journalist, and working from the age of like 15, 16, 17. She was already working. And she was one of the first female editors on Fleet Street in Time. She wrote a lot of articles all to do with human rights and anti-apartheid and that sort of stuff. We were thrown out of South Africa. We got thrown out of Rhodesia.
Wow.
And
she's amazing.
Yeah. So, and she used to write about Monsanto and globalism in the 60s and 70s.
Wow.
So I had that sort of with that sort of awareness of some state. I've always loved sports. All my life, I love being physical. I took up martial arts at a young age. I started with karate, and unfortunately, I damaged my knee playing football, and it got so bad that I couldn't continue the karate, and I had to look for something else. And I'd heard about this Aikido as a quote unquote soft martial art, maybe a bit easier on my body, and looked into it, and I fell in love with it straight away. And I practiced that. So that by that time, I'd had originally didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. I went to Hotel Catering College in Guildford, but not college, university, Surrey University, and thought that was going to be my career. And while I did a year out in Amsterdam, I used to go to this health club every day, and that sort of kept me sane. I thought, you know what, this is what I want to do. This 62-hour weeks in a hotel is crazy, you know.
Yeah.
And working when everyone else is on holiday. So I ended up getting into health and fitness. When I left the minute I left the university course, I joined a health, at that time, the biggest health and fitness business in England, called Fitness for Industry Limited. They don't exist anymore, but they had around 80 odd health clubs around England and a lot of corporate clubs. So I did my training there and became manager finally in Gatwick. I was running a health club in Gatwick. And that's where I started the Aikido. 10 years later, I find myself moving to Denmark in 2001. And I carried on the Aikido, and it was very sort of Zen-like, you know. It was just like what was meant to be. I knew there'd been something missing from Aikido. It was so confusing, Aikido. You know, you seem to be doing these amazing techniques that, like you'll see Steven Seagal do in a movie, and they work amazingly in the dojo, and they, excuse my language, don't work for shit in the street. Because they require, for the most part, some cooperation from the attacker.
Yeah.
And this isn't the fault of the technique, because this is not what Ushiba meant us to be training. This is the missing.
This is the bit, well, as you said earlier, this is the bit that's missing.
Yes.
Yeah.
What happened was, pre-Second World War Aikido, see, Ushiba, getting on to him really, all that Aikido knowledge, that came from another martial art called Daito Ryo. And Daito Ryo is an eclectic martial art in Japanese that was really, in the early days, meant for the elite. You couldn't just go turn up at the door and say, hey, can I join in? You know, you had to be invited, or you had the right bloodline, family ties. And because Ushiba was such a good martial artist, he was accepted, and and all this knowledge that I'm talking about is really coming from Daito Ryo in terms of Japan's history. And it's very sad, because today the official Aikikai is trying to separate that. No, he came up with this himself, kind of, you know, he's such an amazing person, which he is, but you've got to give credit due where it's due, and the knowledge he got was from really Daito Ryo. And what happened is, after the Second World War, again, as part of maybe this process that I told you about, his son more or less took over. And his son was not a natural martial artist. He was more of an accountant. He was an accountant. And he was sort of like, I can imagine him having a conversation. Look, Dad, we need to make this profitable. We need belts. We need grades. We need systems, you know.
Certificates.
We've got to charge money, you know. And this is okay. You know, we need to come up with some specific techniques, because what Ushiba did is he took the least lethal techniques from Daito Ryo. There are thousands of them. He only took a handful, and they all had something in common, and that was spirals. They all involved spirals. So Ushiba was up to something else. He wasn't trying to create an ultimate martial art. What he was doing was taking techniques that you could use to practice your body conditioning. It was all about the body conditioning. If you do these particular moves and you incorporate the body conditioning, you're going to get a lot out of your body.
It's Mr. Miyagi.
Sorry?
It's Mr. Miyagi. Wax on, wax off.
And if you practice with somebody else, you have resistance, because there gets a point where you can, what I'm showing is solo exercises. And this is one aspect of training. There is a whole gambit of training to do with when there's more than one person. And Aikido really started with someone going into something like 6 direction and someone else pressing on them. And for example, if I pressed against my arm, I don't want to press back the same. I don't want to give the force back that way. I want to go forwards, backwards. And so as the more and more he presses, I'm going forwards and backwards. And if he releases, nothing happens. Where if I push against it and he releases, it goes like this. So you don't want that, because you don't want to be reliant on this person who's pushing or pulling you. You're doing your own thing in your body. And you're creating these opposing spirals, and you're moving around, creating these opposing forces. And someone grabbing you, you will have an effect on them, but they shouldn't have such an effect on you. That's the idea of it. So Oshiba was created these, started naming these specific techniques. He was quite old by then, and other students took over the training. And apparently there's stories where he comes into the dojo now and then and he goes, "This is not what I've been teaching," because they started to concentrate on all the techniques, just doing the form and techniques. We need to know Ikkyo, Sankyo, all these techniques, and it was not about that at all. And this is what's happened throughout the world.
Yeah.
The first Japanese teachers they sent over to the West were not the highest, best teachers. They had a very low opinion of us. So I just send Eric. He's been doing it 4 years. He'll teach them something.
He'll do.
So it's very unfortunate. So there are a lot of good, willing, amazing people in the world who train Aikido, and they do beautiful things with it. But they have been misled. They don't have all the knowledge. They don't have all the information. And there are many other reasons why this knowledge didn't make it. It's often in the culture, in Asian culture, especially in Japanese culture, it seems like the sensei keeps information back. He gives it to some students, not everybody. And, "Oh, you're so amazing. You're so good at that technique," but he hasn't told you something that you need for that technique, so he can do it better than you. That's not how it should be. And the person that I'm learning from is one of those living legends, really. Someone like Morihei Oshiba. His name is Dan Harden. He's one of the few people in the world that has a real developed Hara center, completely developed. And he goes around the world testing people, and he's found a few people in China, some amazing Tai Chi people, but for the most part, people haven't got this. He has. And he is a true martial artist, swordsman, amazing person. I am really a lowly student compared to where he is at with this. And we're just learning. And what I'm providing, I'm not just teaching, I'm learning myself and training. And I'll train in front of a camera with nobody there. I have done for many months. There's no one on the other side of it, but I just train anyhow, like there's people there. And then slowly but surely, 1 or 2 now, a few more coming in.
Well, the best teachers know that they're students.
Yeah, that's the point. You need not to have your back away from source. We're all looking towards source. If I turn my back and face the class, I'm not learning anymore. That's sort of philosophy of it. We're all polishing this piece of charcoal. Start with a piece of charcoal and we polish. And, that's how my teachers have been. I go, "Hey, what are you doing?" "Go away." "What are you doing?" "Look, polish it like this. Do that. Okay, go away." Because, and you polish and polish, and slowly something starts to come. And that's what this work is. It's just a lifetime thing. You can do this to the day you leave this place.
Well, there's a spiritual aspect to this, right? Because when you are finding that position, you are connecting with source, right?
Yes, this is my main point of this, and what I could see what was happening is, as you get connected in your mind and body, once you start connecting with your body, and especially because since we're creating this center, and many people talk about the stomach being your second brain. You know, this we're getting in. You then are basically connecting with your intuition.
Well,
So
I think the stomach is the first brain.
Yeah,
because
whichever way you like. Yes.
Well, the stomach is the first thing formed in the in
Yes, you're right.
embryology, right? Everything
Absolutely right.
grows off the stomach, right?
Yes.
And it's in our language, gut feeling. You know, I felt it in my gut, so
Yes.
we speak it. And the brain is really a transceiver. The
Yes.
brain is transmitting thoughts and receiving information, and then, but that's your brain.
Yeah, I was being polite.
No,
Trying to
it's
keep
just one of
people.
those,
I totally agree with you.
yeah, it's one of those things that I came to that conclusion a few years ago, and then it changed the way that I act in life when I realized that.
So as you develop this center and begin to put your mind more here, you're more open to receiving communication from your center, and you really start to notice, from, like you say, from tensioning, all kinds of feelings, and you can question, should I go down that road? I'm not sure about that. And you listen, and the stomach's going, not tonight. And you go that way, and then you hear on the news there was some fight down there, that alleyway, and someone got hurt. And you think, wow, I was going to go down there.
Yeah.
And so what you're doing by connecting with your intuition, you're connecting with your higher self. And so because this is about mind, body, spirit.
Yeah.
And when you start to combine the spiritual aspect, the training becomes something very special. It does for me. You know, I first of all, I connect with my higher presence. I open sacred space. I do a clearing, and you feel in a very sort of already in a calm, very special place and connection with your family, your galactic family, your elemental beings, everything. You know, it's beautiful. And then you do these body exercises, and that is really combining all three: mind, body, spirit. And it's having an amazing effect. You know, you had that lady Helen on the other night with orbs and galactic.
Yeah.
I've personally never seen such things until the last few weeks. At night, this has happened 2 or 3 times now. I've gone out at night, and I look up and it just looks like normal stars. And I look at one of the lights or stars, and I'm sending, I start going to Misogi and thinking, connecting with my higher self, and feeling a lot of love. And this light starts dancing around, and I first thought it was it's me. I'm short-sighted, and I'm doing it by maybe moving like this or something. And it's my imagination. So I was being very, very cynical and very, very critical. So I just looked, and I asked, you're going to have to move an awful lot more to prove to me that this isn't something in my head. And it starts really moving all over the place and coming forwards and backwards.
Yep.
Amazing.
Yep.
And I don't know if it's lens flare or what is being picked up, but when I did some filming, a few friends have mentioned they saw orbs on the film, and they're the same colors that Helen was talking about, a sort of orange and sort of blue one. So that's interesting. So it's amazing, this sort of training. I love it, and I would love to share that. I think a lot of people can get benefit from it. So that's the spiritual, my spiritual people that I think can get a lot of benefit from this, combining body as well into the mind with the spirit.
Well, that's why I wanted to get you on the show, because it's wonderful, and as we are moving into 5D, this will help accelerate things for everybody, because as you were talking, I was getting the buzz that I get, and I was like, I've got goosebumps everywhere. And I did before we started talking, actually. And I just think it's really, really important that this ancient knowledge is coming to the fore, and it's coming through people like us, and that just ordinary people that have had an extraordinary journey to this point.
Yes.
We're not film stars, we're not celebrity magazines pushing. And once you see this stuff, it's well, once you learn about what you're talking about and things like that I try to get on this channel, you realize really just how much crap is being thrown at everybody all the time, and how useless the education system is, how useless the physical education system is, how useless it all is, and it's all on purpose. Even the spiritual systems and religion,
Yeah.
because I think the Council of Nicaea analogy with what happened here is just that's the key to everything. All
Yes.
the knowledge just being hidden, and it sounds like the martial arts guys who keep the secrets are kind of copying. It's like the mystery schools. It's like the secret societies. It's just like hiding it over here
Yeah.
for the benefit of a few.
Yes.
Whereas we've all got the abilities to tap into this, and I think it's marvelous that you're sharing it with the world, and I think your personal journey.
What Dan Harden would say is, it's very important that we stand on the shoulders of
Yes.
other people. It's not coming from me. This is not my knowledge.
Yeah.
I got this from mainly from Dan Harden. He's got it from other people, from Dieter Rio. He's an exceptional person. He's had even UFC fighters come to him, and he destroys them. Just they come back the next day. What did you do?
Yeah.
They try again and they get destroyed. But to learn this stuff takes many, many years. So you don't see it in the UFC and in mixed martial arts and things, because someone would really, I got to do this for a good 10 years. You sort of have to start from scratch again. So most people, it's tough.
Well, I went to one UFC fight and I walked out. It made me feel sick.
Yeah.
And then you look at people like there's a big hero in Ireland. He's a UFC fighter. What's his name?
Oh, Connor.
Oh my God, he's horrible.
He's
totally
just promoting the vaccine. He's just
He's just a nasty man. And I got asked to do some work for a company that was working with him, big money, about 2 years ago, and I said, "No way, no way." The vibe off him is just terrible.
Yeah.
But then if you look at all the movies, all the great fight movies and stuff, all the Rocky films, for example, are all about getting to this point, but they don't talk about it in these terms at all. It's like, it's the guy up against the bigger guy and something deep inside them and allows them to overcome. And it's really like this continuous hero's journey kind of story. And all the Luke Skywalker and Obi-Wan, it's all the same. So it's all the same thing, really, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, that's a lot of what I do comes from the sword. And, in time, you just use what's very special, what I'm doing. I was very lucky with, like I said, this, when you've got to be careful what you ask the kami for, So I wanted to really get this proper knowledge of Aikido, and I've been on this path, and it's all come to me. And it started first coming to Denmark. I tried some different styles of Aikido, wasn't really suiting me. And someone told me there's this guy called Patrick in Christiania, which is, you may have heard of. It's this famous commune in Copenhagen. When you walk in there, they say you're now leaving the EU. It's the biggest. It's a big hash market in there.
Sounds like my kind of place.
A lot of alternative people. And it took me quite a while to find him. And then when I did find this little door with the tiniest sign you could ever see, you'd never know. The way you ring the bell will decide whether you get in or not. And if you go ding, 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 there's no way Patrick's answering that, It's going to be ching, ding. It's got to be sort of the right, then he opens a window from high up. Yeah. What do you want?
It sounds like a scene out of Doctor Strange.
Yeah. And then you throw keys out, And I ended up with a very good teacher, and he was all about the body work. So it started long before Dan Harden, but I started to do this body work, and we were following the teachings of someone called Nishio Sensei. Nishio came from karate background and was one of the few Aikido people that he wanted to keep it in the martial art realm. So he's the Bruce Lee of Aikido, basically. And people would come all over the world when he's dead now. When he would come to Europe, he'd only come once a year, and there were hundreds and hundreds of people, and a lot of them were not Aikido. They just came for the entries. He had very special entries. That initial meeting of people. And what I'm doing now is I take those entries and I use it to practice the body conditioning. So not only are you practicing body conditioning, you're doing very sensible moves like coming up with your arm through the middle, where I'm not trying to teach techniques or anything like that. But if I can instill in you your initial reaction, where if someone suddenly, bumps into you from behind, where you kind of go into 6 direction and your arms are coming up the middle. A few months ago, a football was coming right towards me. And I didn't see it to the last second, but my hand came up. But it's just coming up through the middle. So there's just some just as your last guest was saying, there's some very simple moves and things you can instill in your body without getting into all these flowery techniques and all that Aikido stuff and other madness. But I just wanted to say that, so that's sort of what I'm doing from the martial art point of view. You're learning something that's very sensible.
Well, it sounds eminently sensible, and one of the gifts of this situation we're in is that we've still got the internet, and you can teach people worldwide how to do this stuff.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
I have live classes, and I have these daily exercise routines, which you can just watch at your leisure. Videos, and also the live classes are all recorded. So there's kind of like an elite membership, which includes the live classes, and the standard membership for everything else.
Well, I put a link on the screen for that. If people want to find out more, and there's going to be a link in the video description. But for now, I just want to say thank you for sharing that information. It's fascinating. Thanks for the login as well. I'm going to go and have a look at some of these, and I say I'm going to try and do it. I'm terrible at actually keeping up. I'm being honest. If you rang me every day, I'd still probably ignore you.
I know. It's a lot of these things are to do with habit. Even when you start it, then something changes in your routine, and it all goes out the window.
I think it's because I don't really have a routine. I just get up and I start working straight away. Well, after doing the school runs and everything, then I forget to eat. I forget to shower. I'm terrible. I need to work. I'm saying this live on air. This is what I need to work on.
Just want to say, Mark, I'm a member of your marketing course, and I've been trying to make money online for years without success. And you are really sharing the sentient information that you need to do this. And I really recommend you're going to change people's lives with this. Honestly, you are. You're cutting through all the fluff and all the BS, and not only that, but people are helping each other in the group.
That's the amazing thing.
And as soon as I get my bit done here and I'm a bit more on top of it, I'm going to, go in there as well and try and help people wherever they're stuck. It's something very different. This is 5D, a very different approach going on here in your course here. And I just wanted to say that. So, thank you.
I just want to say, I didn't pay him to say that. I didn't know. Is that your phone? What was that?
Yeah, it just went. That's my phone.
Well, it's really kind of you to say that. I mean, I'd said at the beginning, I got this strong call to do this course, and I was like, "What? How does that fit with what I'm talking about online for the last 18 months?" I just didn't really see but I was really pushed to do it,
Yes.
So what I said was the truth. It was like, marketing for me is something that I've been stuck in for 20 odd years, wondering why, because my interests, I'd rather be off flying a plane or, gardening or like cooking, the things that I love to do. Marketing, I'm really good at it, but it's like,
and
I've always liked helping the little guy, all the way through. And I had I had opportunities to become a bigger, more famous sort of internet marketing guide when nobody was really doing it. But then I came across loads of people that didn't sit well with me, because I teach proper stuff. I don't do it to make millions of quid off a course. I do it because I want to see the students do something with it. So it's just been amazing, actually. That I'm getting feedback like that, like you've just given, and you're right. The Telegram group is like it's the first thing I look at in the morning because I'm just like amazed at what's happening, and seeing people who have never even been on video, never dreamt of going on YouTube, now just churning them out, and that's, I suppose, that in my way, that's my way of empowering people in the same way that you're empowering people, and really it's just everything that we should all be doing right now is empowering each other and creating these networks, because we are one consciousness, and it's us that are manifesting the future and shaking all this crap off. And I don't know if I don't even know if there's going to be a need for marketing in the world that we're going into.
No. I mean, you could even say it might not even be a need for our body, but for now, while we have it,
exactly, it's pragmatic, isn't it? It's like, well, we're here now. What can we do with now? And
because like you say, you have to live in the now, and this is the now right now. In the
chop wood, carry water. That's it.
Yeah.
Well, that's what wonderful of you to say, and thank you for sharing all that information. And anybody who wants to find out more about Alex's work, I've put a link there. And thanks, Alex. Great to meet you properly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe I'll get you on. We'll do some live exercises with a group.
Yes, I actually do that in the spiritual group. I've made a little course, and we meet once a week and do some put videos out for them to practice some things. Because I can do all the opening ceremony and all that kind of stuff, which makes sense there.
Brilliant. Well, I'm glad you're here in the world doing this, and your journey's led you to this point, which is terrific. And that's what I'm loving about 5D. It's brilliant.
Yep. Thank you, Mark.
Well, you have a lovely day. Take care.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
Cheers. Bye, everybody.
Cheers.